Hi YouTube. It's that time again. Cat time. I don't even know if you can see her because it's like 3 o'clock in the morning and dark in here. But there's a cat on my lap. It is brutally honest, real-time time again. I've said that when you are manic or even hypomanic, you are likely the last to know. This stood true for me again. I kinda took a divergence from the channel. I have a handful of solid ideas that there's no way that I could speak on coherently, and some long videos that I made that I rambled on endlessly, non-coherently. They're not even worth editing. So what I've been making, I haven't really been putting out because it wasn't sensible, was lengthy in a way that is beyond my usual lengthy. So that's why, forgive me for what's been up as of late, and what's not been being put up that's been in here and partially translated. I have been having an episode, the lack of sleep, for about 3 months now. Fear not, I'm fine. I'm not gonna go running off to the hospitals again or anything of that nature. Because it was caught in time. When I first started getting sick again, I felt like life had been poured back into my bones. I felt so good, and it wasn't an artificial kind of good. I just felt alive again. I felt inspired. I picked up my hobbies. I thought that I just finally found some inner peace and forward momentum and felt alive again. And to the point where even being quite ill, having this be about 2.5 months by now, or by that point, the psychiatrists, therapists say I'm ill, the pastor says I'm in love with life, and I'm not ill at all. That's hypomania. My boss was putting me up for worker of the month. Nobody knew, even though I had an inkling, and I professed that inkling. I tried to tell work. I tried to tell my partner. He said that I was fine. I tried to bring it up to the pastor that, I appreciate the insights that I'm getting, but I'm concerned about myself. None of those closest to me saw anything but my profound stability, the best of me, and that's what the first stages of a manic episode are going to give. That's why they're really often missed, not just by the person having them, but by their friends and family. If a person, it's like if a person is lucky enough to have insight into their mental illness, trust them. Especially if they can go to the heights of psychosis. Trust them when they tell you they are concerned for themselves. Something is off. I don't know how anyone could miss the sleeping 2 hours a night for months, and still think I'm fine, knowing what they know about me. Um, I did, but when things started to hit a familiar chord from before, when I got really sick, a frightening chord, when I started to have things that were a little too familiar, I was bordering on psychosis, and I was scared. I began to become aware that maybe this were a little bit more. Maybe this had the propensity to be a little bit more. Maybe I was sick. Because I didn't see it, and none of those around me saw it, even living for a week straight with my partner, he didn't see it. Nobody saw it, no matter what I said. It's like, good to go back to the original point, when the misnomer that if someone discusses suicide, they're not actually serious about it, that they won't do it. That's a warning sign. You should follow up with that. At minimum, it means the person is severely depressed and needs some help. And same to be said with if a person seems to be doing extraordinarily well and they have bipolar, especially if they have bipolar, that can get to a level as mine can in either direction that involves a psychotic episode, which is a break from reality, where nothing is effective and you destroy your own reality, then listen to them when they say that they are unwell. If you have somebody who experiences psychosis in your stratosphere and they say they're worried for themselves, there's something to that. And there was probably a lot before that. So, bearing that in mind, first I wasn't. At first I just felt better and better and better, and I thought that I was growing again. And I have grown again. We grow through everything. I say that every situation is a lesson or a blessing. This situation is a lesson. There's a learning curve to life, and everybody's got their stuff, and bipolar is one of my stuff. We learn through all things, good and bad. And who's to say what good and bad is? But I was doing so well that when my therapist first proposed to me that he thought I might be sick, it wrecked me for 3 or 4 days. I was a mess. I cried. Because I thought I really felt like I was alive and had touched that vitality in me again. That inspiration, that creativity, that I was just doing it right. And the idea that was due to my sickness. That this version of me was not me. It was just my illness. Just the other side of being sick. The upside of being sick. Not who I am, who I can be. Productivity-wise, creativity-wise, emotionally-wise, stability-wise, that person wasn't me. But I retained, I rebounded, I rebuked, I disbelieved that I was sick when I sought answers from the people around me that were not my treatment team. And everyone reassured me that I was just doing wonderfully, and they were so happy to see me doing so well. And that I wasn't sick. They saw no signs of sickness, despite the lack of sleep, and that there was nothing to it as far as my mental illness, and I shouldn't be worried. I was just really, really, really healthy. And so that encouraged me to disbelieve it even more that I was getting sick. Um, it is important when you have a mental illness as part of your being. It is not who I am, just like epilepsy or diabetes. It's not who you are. If you were born blind, blind is not who you are. It is something you exist with. Bipolar is not who I am. It is something I exist with. But because it is something I exist with, it is important that I have professionals who know how it works, how I particularly work within it, so that they can see what others cannot. Because no one is a professional on epilepsy. They may not recognize what a seizure is, unless it's a full-blown dropout seizure, like a full-blown psychotic episode. They do not know, they do not see, and neither do you. So I highly encourage people to not let go of their care team and be open to the possibility of it. It's gone on for a while. These last 2 times I've become highly religious. I've always been religious, not always, but for many years, and every time this happens, these last 2 times, I've become quite religious. It's interesting how many bipolar delusions and psychosis revolve around spiritual awakenings. I don't find that to be a coincidence, because I legitimately have faith, and it's not because I'm crazy that I have faith. Just like it's not because someone is blind that they go to church. And it's not because I go to church, because it was before I was going to church that I got these type of experiences in the past. Believe it or not, they've strengthened my faith. However, I get hyper-focused on a thing. When it goes too far, and I will gladly spend hours and hours and hours a day and night just absorbed into that thing. Last time when I was psychotic, I would stay up all night watching the news and taking notes on everything, the color of the anchor's ties, and thinking that I had special meaning. Because I was highly psychotic, inferring notes on everything and just studying the world around me in all night and all day, just taking notes. And I was on this mission, and it was a mess. It was quite a mess. And this time, I returned to church, which was good. I did some things in my life that I needed to do, and I had been on the fence about, or I didn't know how to approach, and I did them succinctly, and I did them well, and those monkeys are off my back now, and that's wonderful. It paid dividends. I started drawing and painting again. It paid dividends. However, hyper-religiosity Spending day and night listening to affirmations and meditation and yoga and religious affirmations and scripture and nothing else. My artwork, everything became tied to religiosity, 24/7. And I still believe that God should be your highest priority and should be sought for guidance in your life. And anytime I felt human and I didn't feel that fire inside me, which was actually mania, I felt like I had lost touch with God, and I began to feel guilty, and everything was very black and white, and I don't believe that God is black and white, and I questioned my faith, and like, not my faith in God, but my own personal faith and my own personal failings, and this all-consumingness is bordering on psychosis. My boss, it's beginning to bleed into work, falling asleep on the job, just my body just shutting down because of months without sleep. I panicked and paranoid. I just wanted to run away. I didn't know why. I was highly agitated, feeling like if I didn't quit smoking, I was going to burn in fiery hell. All-consuming. And from putting me up on Worker of the Month to me not punching in, falling asleep on the job, forgetting the basics, crying, scaring him because he saw me so sick before, which is, I don't want to see that look in his eyes. And I can't help myself. I didn't mean to let it get that far. Be honest, have care professionals, and always be honest with them. No one knows you better than you, this is true. And you should have a collective of insights, and you should be open to all insights. But you shouldn't disregard when the professionals that are familiar with you suggest that it might be a mental illness, and try to get on top of it before it gets on top of you. Broaching a psychotic episode and this all-consuming religiosity that I've had, just as last time when I had a psychotic episode. If you get lost in a relationship that is all-consuming, just a normal person gets absorbed into their relationship with their partner. They get absorbed into an addiction problem in the family. They become obsessed with that person, or they become helicopter parents and they live through their kids and it's all about them. When the person with the addiction gets well, when the relationship breaks up, when the child moves out, that person has no identity anymore. So at first it paid dividends. It helped me move forward clearly and concisely in things that I was unsure of. I couldn't come to conclusion. I couldn't think clearly enough to figure out. And it was all me. It was just boosted me. It allowed me to be active and creative and uplifting, to do good and to be positive and a positive aspect in the lives of others and uplift them, to reignite my faith in myself and life and to garner positivity at work, respect that I'd lost from the last time. And then as it started to go on and on and on, there's a point at which you get consumed in mania, and if it goes on too long, you get consumed in psychosis if you have the propensity to have that happen. And you don't have to have a mental illness to wind up psychotic, just so you know. So be aware. Psychosis is a human condition. But if you have these particular schizophrenia or bipolar mental illnesses, you have more of a propensity, or Parkinson's, dementia, you have more of a propensity to have the capacity to have psychosis happen. And I lost myself. I slept a couple of nights here and there for 4 hours or so, naps. I took all the meds, they upped my meds, and I took them, and I slept for 24 hours, and I had to call in, and now I'm trying to figure out how to get new releases and everything signed back and forth between my job, and it's a mess. That's why you need to have these protections, at least the kernels of these protections, set up ahead of time. As I'm adjusting to the new medication increase, if I take all of my meds, I wake up nauseous and sick, and I'm sick and nauseous the entire day to the point where I cannot work. Or I just sleep for 24 hours because I've been on 3 months on 2 hours of sleep, and they up my medication, and it knocks me out. And even if it doesn't knock me out, I feel like I'm going to throw up. And I'm dizzy. And I feel very sick. But they don't want to lower my medication until my episode is over. So I'm caught between a psychosis and a workplace instead of a rock and a hard place. Taking my meds so that I can put the final kibosh on this episode and just move on again. And losing my job because I'm non-functional on the medication. So I need to coordinate those two things together. And then I have to go through the arduosity of taking medication that is going to suck. Well, I can just stop it right there. It's going to suck days of my life away, asleep on the couch. Now that it is spring and my partner wants to play, and I want to play, I want to enjoy my life, especially now that I'm psychotic, mildly, and manic. I'm less psychotic now that I've been sleeping a little bit, and taking medication, as I can, and I want to enjoy my life, but I can't let this go, but it will knock me out for days. And then as I start to adjust to it, I will be nauseated and dizzy, like someone with low blood pressure. When they stand up, they get dizzy, and they get that weird palpitations and nausea, and they feel like they can't breathe, and they feel like they're going to puke if they go to stand up and walk across the room. That's what one of the particular medications does to me, and that is the antipsychotic, which is the one they keep adjusting. When these episodes happen, I want to be off it entirely. I want to use it sporadically, symptomatically, like cold medicine for a cold, and be off of that one. But that's a discussion with my doctor for another time. Now is the time to discuss with my doctor how to get work and therapists talking appropriately, because everybody has their own mode of releases, non-releases, what's covered, what's not covered, and they won't seem to talk to each other, and they're trying to get the crazy person to coordinate between two systems with highly detailed policies on how to cover what and what documentation and who will be allowed to speak to who about what. Because I work for a place that works with people who are disabled,
and have different things, so they are very particular about, they want everything documented in a particular way, and who can talk to who is very specific. And with a lot of red tape, and I'm dealing with mental health, which for my very own protection is very particular and specific about who they will talk to about what. And I'm trying to navigate these two things together, and all I want to do is take my medicine and not lose my job. Even though I don't want to take my medicine, sometimes in life you gotta take your medicine. But I can't at this point as consistently as I like, because I can't work when I take it. I can do nothing when I take it. Oh, battery low. I haven't been putting out much on the channel because I've got to the point that I can't. Sleeping a little bit, beginning to take the medicine as I can, has made me aware that, yes, I'm sick. And I was sick to the point where my life has become consumed and I lost myself in my religion. This does not discount my religion or my faith in God. This does not discount any progress I have made. I exist within the constraints of my illness. It's like you can exist in the constraints of everything, and I have learned things. But recovery from a psychotic episode is a mess. It's a mess. It's like coming out of a cult. That's almost what it's like to fix the mind from a psychotic episode, is like coming out of a cult. You've been brainwashed by your own brain into believing a delusion. If you don't know what a delusion is, it's a faulty and unshakable belief. You can Google it for further information. But I don't feel like talking about it. I've already talked long enough and don't think people will watch this video. Don't really mind. Just wanted to be honest and spit it out. But it's like coming out of a cult. You just have to slowly get integrated back into reality, and reality tests that the sky doesn't fall down when you do something contradictory to the belief. And it's a very slow process. Just because you take the medication and the symptoms stop, that you start sleeping again, your level, your mood, as far as the psychotic episode, at least in my own experience, is that the storyline doesn't go away. That's why I give the cult example. The closest thing is, it's like having lived in a cult, and you have been brainwashed by your own brain that the entire world revolves around this thing, and you do not really forget. You may forget the details of it all, but you're indoctrinated. And the delusion doesn't go away just because the other symptoms go away. Even with an antipsychotic, the thinking has to literally be rewired again, like someone leaving a cult. And it's a slow and steady baby step process where you test the waters, contradictory to what the cult has told you to be true. And then you're slow and you're scared about it, but you do it because you believe the others when they tell you that what the cult had told you, that you've been brainwashed, and it's not true. And you slowly disengage and re-engage in reality, and then eventually your true personality starts to re-emerge. Your true, I wouldn't say personality because personality is flexible, but your true nature, your likes, your you comes back out. But first, you have to even break the bounds of what has been delineated as acceptable within the delusion, within the cult, within the brainwashing. And it's a very fearful and slow process. I'm grateful I didn't get as sick as last time. I'm not about to let that happen. I have an appointment today to try and get the two sides to discuss with each other. But I've had enough sleep to realize how all-consuming it is, and how I'll have to disengage from the cult of my own mind again. They say, and I say, let the past go. Don't look backward. Live in the present. Highly important. However, this aside, history has a tendency to repeat itself. If life goes in circles and history has a tendency to repeat itself, if you ignore the lessons from the past. I saw this coming. I know how to get well. I know what I'm looking at. I knew who to go to because I know what happened before. And I know the process it's going to take to get back on level ground. Thinking wise, me wise, sleep wise, just back to normal, off of this and into clear thinking and a normal, varied life. Again, out of this episode, because I recognize how it worked the last time. In your life, if you have anything that seems scary and daunting, remember two things. You've probably been here before, and it's turned out just fine. This too will pass. And if you've been there before, even if in a different context, different people, different place, same type of situation, if you do not learn from it, you're going to keep repeating it. You're going to keep finding yourself there. Learn from your past. Realize you've been here before. It will pass. And know what worked and know what didn't, and approach it similarly until you get better and better at it. For me, a part of obtaining and maintaining happiness is to be able to manage my condition myself. And that, for me, means being under care of people who know better, because my support of others couldn't see this side. And I need the support of the professionals, not just for identification of the illness and access to medication, but for support in trying to explain these things to those around me who cannot see. Why my boss and my workplace was so efficient and effective, and now I'm scattered and ineffective. How I could seem to go from fine to not fine overnight. I wasn't fine the night before. I just wasn't starting to become psychotic yet. You can't expect people to understand this. And you feel very alone and isolated and frustrated, helpless when you try to explain yourself to others, to important others, about what's happening, and they don't understand because they didn't see the months and months and months preceding it as a problem. They think you're suddenly just acting weird. And then, for me, shortly after that, I can do nothing because I've lost insight and I'm gone. I need those people to be able to speak for me, advocate for me. Not that I'm not strong enough to advocate for myself, but when it comes to mental illness, people have a hard time just like identifying the seizure, listening to you, hearing you, understanding, hey, I don't feel well, something's wrong here, when everything seems right until they see you fall down with a grand mal seizure. Then they're like, oh wow, they're sick. And it's like, I've been trying to tell you for months. Except with mental illness, it becomes a moral judgment. and you can lose friendships, you can lose jobs, you can lose your home, you can lose many things. No matter how well you tried to manage it, how well you tried to do, how good you were about taking care of yourself and informing other people, the important people, about what was occurring, that it's your choices, and it's a sudden choice. Maybe you partied way late at night, so you're screwing up the time clock at your job. And that's not what I've been accused of, but, you know, like, it's like it came out of the blue. And it didn't, and I've been trying to say so. And I need people who are better able to verify, document, and articulate that for me. And that also is professionals. So to round out this long, rambly video, it's coming to its end. This episode of Mania. And there's a mourning in that. A mourning as far as a new day, a new me, being reborn like Phoenix from the ashes. Every time this has happened, after a period of drought, I come out stronger on the other side. Changed, but in a good way. I gain some things from these experiences. But there's also a mourning of before the new strength and fortitude and better me, betterness, better able to manage multiple things, and all that came from this that was good is a literal mourning. The medication, the sleep, after so long in a high place that felt like a normal place, I feel like my senses are dead, and I'm still caught in the rules of the delusion, and so I feel tremendous guilt for not feeling alive, and I'm testing the waters, and I don't know what to do with me. What do I do? And when I try to pick up those things that I do and that I like this, I can't put 2 cents together to put it to fruition, or it feels devoid, flat and empty, because that's the medication. There is a period after getting sick where the medication adjustments mess you up. The falling from the heights messes you up. The adjusting of your world that you've created that is now hyper-focused on this one thing, and removing yourself from the cult of brainwashing that your illness has done to you, messes you up and takes time. And then you have to re-find yourself, and that takes time. And it's a process, but it's a process worth doing. And I'm really glad I'm in front of it, to the point where I'm in front of it, because I don't want to go so far as I went before. And again, like I said, I'm fine. Largely this has brought me good into my life. It's just at the point now that it's beginning to be a problem, which is also just at the point where I'm beginning to get treated and it's coming to its end. And I apologize for not having really been putting much out. I haven't been able to, and yes, I'm well, but I'm in for the long, fun road back to normal, and hopefully a new, improved normal. That's what I can hope for, to be reasonably happy and reasonably, that's the important thing, able to keep all the balls in the air, reasonably balanced, reasonably well-rounded, reasonably me. Love you guys. There was more to say, and a more succinct way to say what I've said. But
I need to do other stuff. Not sure what that stuff is. I wrote a list on my arm. Including probably try to make myself go back to sleep. I love you guys. Love life. Take care of yourselves. No matter what your dealio is. No matter what the world has to say. You know when something is off. With your body, with your mind, with your relationships, with your careers, with your sleep, with your eating, with your behaviors. You know it in your bones. You feel it. You have gut feelings. These instincts are there for a reason. Listen to them. Care for yourself first. You can't care for anybody else, and you can't exude and be and find your true path and your true joy until you're well. Keeping yourself healthy is goal number one, mind, body, and spirit, in order to get happy and stay happy. Bye. No one's watching this long video.